everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 91. Ooh. As always, I am one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by my other co-hosts, Jesse Cox and Alex Fasciane. What's up, boys? How you doing?
Schmello.
Yeah. Welcome back to the podcast where it's our job to make you go, well, yeah, maybe that could be true.
No. Okay. Nah. I got to be careful as I proceed so I don't get radicalized. Interesting.
Exactly. Take it in by bit.
I was going to talk about like weird cryptids that are just pants, but I guess that's the path we could.
Dude, don't you dare say a fucking bad thing about those fucking guys.
Everybody loves them. There's the people that discovered them through the podcast now are just like, they're like, how did I never hear of these?
The Fresno Nightcrawler.
They're just pants. They're just pants.
They are just pants.
They're pants
in pajamas. They're like,
it's true. And you know what? We always need new pants. And thanks to Patreon, we can buy them.
Oh no!
That's my handoff to Alex as he's taking a sip from his drink.
Did you say Patreon, Mathis? Is that what you said?
I did.
Because let me tell you something. It's funny that you mention it because if you have any money in your pants, you might want to take it out of your pants and put it right into the Patreon. Because when you do that, it supports us. It keeps our show afloat. And in addition to getting weekly episodes, which, by the way, was not a reality until you guys stepped up on the Patreon. Now you get these great mini-sodes that are after every episode, another 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes way too much more podcasts. Like we go hella loose with that 15-minute time limit sometimes. We got all this great art. Get first dibs on all the merch. Like it's a great beneficial like symbiosis thing for you and us. So hop on there, please, so that we can keep doing this as our job.
It's true. We couldn't do this without you. And Jesse is so proud right now of Alex's shill. It's just plastered on his face.
I like to think of us as Eddie Brock, and you are our symbiote.
Me?
Not you, the listener.
Oh, okay.
And you're like all up on us and in us. And then when we get really angry, you come out and like eat people.
Eddie, I went to www.patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. Eddie, I supported the Chilluminati podcast at the $15 level, Eddie.
They're so uncontrollable. Amazing. They hunger.
Amazing. Well, on that amazing shill, are you boys ready to hop into some spooky stuff, some ghost stuff that is not a reader story, but a true one of the world's most famous hauntings to have ever happened?
How have we not done
this? Modern history.
How have we not done this one?
What is it?
This is the haunting of Borley Rectory.
Oh.
Do you know Borley Rectory?
Now, this sounds familiar to me because I think I saw an Yvette Fielding on this. If you guys ever remember that show, Most Haunted, I think I
do not.
It's like the original OG, like British, like ghost hunting show that was like, it had all the fake scandals. It had all the, like they'd bring in the psychic to like channel people. I think the Borley Rectory is one of their big episodes.
It's a fascinating story with an interesting end that leaves some questions, but answers some others. What about you, Jesse? Do you know anything about Borley Rectory?
I do, but I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay. All right.
I'm interested to see. I don't want to ruin it. We had a whole podcast to do. I'm not going to be like, well, of course I do. I've done it before. I don't want to get yelled at by the internet.
Well, all right. No avoiding that, Jesse. You're always going to be yelled at by the internet.
Let it be for something good.
I don't even think, you know what? Conspiracy theory of all conspiracy theories. I don't even think anybody listens to this show.
Conspiracy theory of all conspiracy theories?
Yeah.
I have 1,000 computers. I'm the guy who bought all the graphics cards. And I only play this show repeatedly over and over again.
You're just a super good friend to us. You're giving us something to do during the pandemic.
You know,
keeping us excited, keeping us researching.
Yeah.
Like Charlie from Charlie's Angels, but like weird and fucked up.
I only do it for one podcast.
The Chilluminati.
The Chilluminati. Yeah. Well, the Borley Rectory is one of, if not the most haunted house in all of England. There was a time where they would see ghostly nuns, spectral, invisible coaches carried by horses to the front of the house, and things flying across the house themselves, including glass candle holders that smashed and scattered across the floor early on. When someone went inside to investigate, when they first saw a light or a ghost, nothing would be on the inside. Yet on the outside, the wall and the windows always had something being visible to the viewer. Now, the one account we're primarily going to follow is that of a journalist by the name of V.C. Wall from 1929, who went and investigated this place personally before everything kind of went to shit a few years later. And this particular journalist spent days looking over this place.
What do you mean went to shit?
Don't don't ask questions. Just go on the journey.
Yeah, go
on the journey.
So on June 11th, 1929, a psychical researcher by the name of Harry Price read
Time out. A psychical?
Yeah.
Psychical researcher, Jesse. That is an actual term.
Was back in the days of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Sean Connery.
It's a Department of Psychical Research.
But not an alienist. Not an alienist, but a psychical researcher.
Wait, what's an alienist?
An alienist is the old word for psychologist or like psychoanalyst. The guy who would the guy who would try and get in the head of criminals. Who would there's actually a show that's very, very good on TBS, I think, or TNT, one of those called The Alienist.
Is that the show with Dakota Fanning?
Absolutely it is. It's a very good show. I thought that
was a show about aliens. What a ripoff.
No, it's a show about crime solving.
How is the alienist not a fucking alien hunter? Why aren't we alienists?
Question. I would love to be an alienist, but that's not what the word means.
Psychical doesn't refer to that of dealing with mental illness. Psychical researcher is researching the paranormal and psychical arts.
That's why things got crazy, because psychical is paranormal. Alienist is the psychologist.
Yeah. They fucked up. They fucked up.
It's nuts.
Yeah. If you're a psychical researcher, you're going to discover fucking Dinotopia or some shit. And if you're an alienist, you're going to be tracking Jack the Ripper, I guess. I don't know.
Pretty much. Yeah.
No, you got it there, right there. Well, Harry Price, the psychical researcher, had actually read a couple of early reports about the house where these mysterious figures were appearing in windows and whatnot, and wanted to know what was going on. And within hours of having read about it in the newspaper, the most famous era in Rectory's haunted history begun when he arrived. Keeping watch with Price the next evening after he arrived, Wall was certain that he saw the nun actually moving towards a stream in the garden, an actual full-body apparition outside the Borley Rectory. For those who don't know, by the way, a rectory is a Catholic place where
rectory
where nuns live. It's basically a Christian place where the nuns live and whatnot. I think the priest house is pretty close to the rectory, but I'm not entirely sure. Just traditionally. So they certainly saw a nun actually moving towards a stream out in the garden by the rectory. And soon after, a dark red candlestick glass whizzed by their heads, shattered against an iron stove. Pebbles and slate bounced down the stairs. Servants' bells began to ring on their own, and keys shot simultaneously from two doors outward and onto the floor.
That's too many. That's too many things at once.
The biggest thing about this, and this is all I'm going to say as you listen, all I can think of every time I hear about the story is it was 1920 something, and I don't know if there's any evidence of any of this except for what a person wrote. So you can write anything. So that's all I'm going to say.
However, if you're alone, go for it. You know what I mean? Fuck it. Nobody's going to believe you anyway, so you might as well just go for it.
And then
the thing with Borley Rectory is that multiple people were involved and multiple people said they had sightings. And so after that particular event, more than a bunch of people briskly dashed up the stairs and failed to actually find any human pranksters in the rectory, assuming that initially all this stuff was happening from somebody trying to scare them. Which at this time, the rectory was actually occupied by Reverend Guy Smith. Sorry, the rectory is where the priest lives. My bad. This was being occupied by Reverend Guy Smith at the time. And Guy Smith was nowhere to be found. He was not throwing candlesticks or anything down the stairs. And Borley Rectory's history actually ended up being built way back in the 1860s and occupied by two previous vicars, both of the same family, the Bull family, before Smith took up residence in 1929. It was erected on the site of at least 2 previous houses. And in 2001, local antiquarian Paul Kemp claimed the ghostly activity had been reported as early as 1819, with the nun allegedly cited in 1836 originally.
Tell me at least that an antiquarian is a historian.
I would imagine so, actually. I just
It's
assumed
actually
that's what
a
that
fish merchant.
Get the fuck out of here.
From 1863, the large family of the Reverend Henry Dawson Bull were disturbed by the sound of rushing water in the house itself, which had neither mains water nor interior pipes. Bells which rang even after the wires were completely cut because they were sick of the bells ringing. Rappings, crashes, and heavy footsteps in empty areas of the building. Again, this is the earliest of the reported of events, 1863.
You're saying they cut the bell like tower?
Yeah, the
ropes?
server bells, they all were attached by string, and they cut
so
them
like
because
the little bells that are like bing, 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 bing when you get like a servant or some sort of like, and so you know
they still rang.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still rang. Things flew around. Heavy footsteps marched up and down stairs and the floor above them, and things were launched off shelves, crashing into the ground. Initially, much of this centered, as so often in like cases like this, on, as we've talked about in the past, a young daughter, Ethel, whose door was singled out for rapping each night and who once had her face slapped as she lay in bed to go to sleep. Just
if somebody's fucking
like,
around, they better step off, slapping the children in the face. If that's you, Father John, you better calm your ass down right now.
It's just some old priestly ghost just super pissed off.
I'm about to make a scene.
Pushing forward a few more years into 1886, a new nursemaid, Elizabeth Byford, initially made light of the supposed haunted room allotted to her. But around 2 weeks
Classic
later,
mistake.
I know. And 2 weeks later, she woke up at midnight to the sound of slippered footsteps outside her door and presently quit that moment. She's like, nope, fucking out.
She
It
quit
only took
after
footsteps.
Yeah, because she made fun of it. She was like, no, there's no ghost. She wakes up to footsteps outside her door and she was like, you know what? I'm good.
But footsteps, that's it?
That's it. Slippered footsteps.
Here's the thing. She was scared the entire time. The reason why she was like, I'm not afraid, it's fine. She was trying to convince herself.
Classic.
Footsteps, I would have been like, that could be anybody.
Could be a ninja just coming to kill me, a living normal ninja.
Yeah.
But what if you heard the footsteps, Jesse, but you saw nobody under the door?
I mean, it could be anywhere in the hallway.
Real talk, you know I'm not laying down on the floor looking under the door.
Yeah. I would hear the footsteps and be like, all right. And then that's it. And then I would open the door and I'd see nothing and be like, all right, back to bed.
I would be so scared. I wouldn't even move.
Yeah,
I would be
footsteps, but there are other people living there.
If I knew that it wasn't somebody that was living there, if something about the steps let me know that it was like not normal, if it didn't sound right, like if, you know, like for example, like I'm up a lot as the latest person up in my house. If I heard like footsteps in my kitchen at like 3 a.m., I don't know what I would do.
But you don't, because there's no one doing it.
I'm just saying, it could, you know, if I heard that, my first thing wouldn't be like, I quit. I would just be like,
no, if you heard footsteps in your kitchen at 3 a.m., I know you would jump up and be like, who is in my kitchen? I would be like,
there would be
peering around the door.
Yeah, I would be like just barely sneaking to see. I would be like moving all slow, like just like, who is it?
Nah, I'd be like, ghost, don't eat my breakfast. The rest is yours. Do what you got to do. I'll be asleep. I ain't got time for all this. Oh, yeah, I go to bed. I'd be like, I ain't got time for you, ghost.
There's no way you would hear footsteps in your fucking kitchen and go to bed. Don't even tell me that.
I have a thing with my apartment complex where I'm like, hey, if you need to like repair something, just come on in. So if at any point in time, if I heard footsteps, I'd be like, sup? And if it was ghosts, it's like, I'll swallow your soul. I'd be like, I don't think I'm okay with that, but like, I don't know. It's day's young, so like, come back in a few hours.
See how it goes.
You're like, who knows? It's probably just a nun.
Well, unlike the servant, the Bull family, who had taken residence at this place for many decades, did not get as scared so easily. The first Henry Bull kept up his duties until his death in May of 1892, and was immediately succeeded by his son, Henry Foister Bull, who held the living there until he died in June of 1927. Henry Foister seems outwardly to have been a kind of fun, jovial, energetic figure who liked running between church and the rectory on sermon days. He does not sound like the kind of person from the people who lived in the area that he was the kind of person who imagined ghosts. However, I posit, just as a kind of devil's advocate, if you grew up with a father who was saying ghostly things were happening, would you not, no matter how jovial you are, also sort of kind of believe that?
If it was part of my life, I would at least like not question it as much. It's like how Santa is, right? Like,
sure.
Nobody's like, get this. Like when you're 10 years old, nobody's like, there's this guy who comes and he brings you presents. You know what I mean? Like when you're 10, it's already hard to swallow that. But because it's been going on since you were, before you can like form coherent thoughts, it's just, you don't think about it because there's too many other new information to worry about. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how long it would go, but I mean, we've all seen The Village.
Hi,
what happens.
Hi, kids listening. How are you? Good?
What? I didn't say anything about anything. I'm just saying.
Hi, kids. Thanks for listening.
Kids believe in Santa because they're told it from a young age. I don't think you could convince a 12-year-old who'd never heard of Santa that happens.
Like a person just sneaks into your home.
Yeah, I mean that's
it's
that's
cool and everyone's fine with it. Like a man breaks into your home and everyone's cool.
I would never be like, sounds great. Can't wait for that to happen. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to wrap my mind around it.
An innocent child factor to it, right? Like a kid, you're fine with like he's jolly, but like at a certain point, if you told like a 20-year-old a man's going to show up in your home.
He has a bunch of stuff that you want, and he's going to eat your food.
Well, I don't know if I like that or not, but
he's about to bring you a gift for it.
It's crazy. How does he get in? How does he do that?
Well, either way, Henry Foister, according to the community, was not one to believe in ghosts or not.
Mr. Big one Britches.
Day, when he went out to his garden, he heard his retriever, his pet retriever, howling at something wildly. And when he came and turned the corner, he saw the dog cowering in the corner behind something. And while barking at the fruit trees just dead ahead. Following the dog's gaze, Bull saw a pair of legs. When these moved out of cover of the foliage, the body was seen to be headless.
Yo, is this my dudes, the freaking Fresno Nightcrawlers?
The headless body crossed the garden, walked clean through the locked gate, and left his sight. The young reverend also saw the notoriously ghostly coach of Borley, drawn by 2 horses and driven by a headless coachman.
What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, this is something that would a lot of stories where at night they would hear the horses run, and you could hear the wheels of the carriage, and when they would look out, they could see the carriage with 2 orange lights running by.
This is Mr. Bull?
Yeah, this is Mr. Bull. Mr. Bull the younger. The younger Bull is saying this. The older Bull also said this though.
He's like pop, 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 poppycock, pop, pop, pop. This is made up. No way.
No, he's the one telling the stories.
I know, but he didn't get scared off. Like
no, not at all. He absolutely was fine with it all.
I don't know about that. If I saw that, that's too much.
Interestingly, though, on another occasion, Bull heard the hooves and heavy wheels on the road behind him. Stepping in to let the vehicle pass, he heard it rush by, but saw nothing. Though the noise gradually diminished in the distance and could be heard dying away slowly and slowly. Like Alex is like smiling, but Jesse the whole time is just like, no.
It's like a Dark Souls boss cutscene is what we're talking about.
Yes. Oh my God, that's dead on. Yeah.
You're like, what is that? What was that? And then it's like, did it? And there's like a tentacle monster that is a carriage somehow.
Furthermore,
I'm sorry. I have it in my head. The guy riding the carriage is also the horse.
Yeah, he's like, yeah,
and he's like also attached to the bottom of the. Yeah, I see it. I see it clear as day.
And the music's like,
be more like a Bloodborne boss, though.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take it. Yeah, Bloodborne is more accurate.
Yeah, Bloodborne definitely. Another interesting encounter the family had was when young Ethel and Frida Bull were returning to the rectory from a summer party they had just went to. As they were emerging from the trees onto the lawn, they saw, quote, a female figure with a bowed head, dressed entirely in black, in the garb of a nun. It appeared to be gliding rather than walking, and after watching her for some time, the girls took her to be a ghost and became intensely frightened. I just like to imagine as they just watch for a while, they decide it's a ghost, and you just look to each other and be like, man, we should probably be scared, and then freak out.
Here's the thing. I told you guys about that time when I was like sitting there waiting for that thing to move for like an hour with my friend when I was trying to leave his house for a party, and we like saw this thing on the fence. Sometimes you just got to stare at it for a little bit and decide how you feel, because I was literally like for a good hour just like, should I go over there? Like, one is a
good hour and never moved, and you're just like, I still don't know.
Yeah. Did they say who this nun is supposed to be?
No, we don't have a name for the nun.
The nun apparently
the nun has been
dates
showing
back.
up.
Yeah.
The nun has been showing up since like 1819. Like there's no name for this nun.
And this is what I don't know if the descriptors match though, right? Like I guess it's hard because the fashion sense of nuns has not changed all that much but like it's clear this nun was from way before. And if there's been two buildings standing there beforehand, this could have been a nun from like the 1600s for all we know.
Well, was the nun wearing like Beats by Dre?
That's what I'm saying. No one knows. Like the descriptors aren't very like, and the nun looked like this. It's not a lot of that. So.
She could have been wearing Beats by Dre.
Is it too much to like for a nun to have Beats by Dre? Like, do you think a nun could get access to that in 2021?
What if I donated Beats by Dre to a nun? Could they take it?
Would not wear Beats by Dre.
I'm saying, can she save up somehow with some money of her own somewhere and get some Beats by Dre? Or like,
there's only one brand a nun would wear. Mathis.
What is it?
What brand would a nun wear? Raycons. That's exactly what they would wear. Raycons. Go over to raycon.com/CP and get your 15% off right now. Thank you. That's free on the house, Raycon. We love it.
There you
go. Intensely frightened, they ran off, and one of them ran inside to get their sister, Elsie, who responded, quote, "What nonsense? I'll go and speak to it." She then ran across the lawn, only to have the nun turn and face her for a few seconds before vanishing into thin air.
And you would think, oh, this person's going to describe the nun to us. Nah.
And that's where the story ends.
Don't take my word for it. Picture any nun that you want.
However, in autumn of 1927, a traveling carpenter by the name of Fred Cartwright also claims to have saw the nun 4 times in 2 weeks.
Did he ever happen to make some really impossibly well-made stairs?
He actually did. He finished up a gorgeous spiral staircase. Yeah. He was not local to the area and had never even heard of the Borley ghost stories prior. Allegedly. And on each occasion assumed the figure was actually a living nun. His suspicions were aroused only on his 4th sighting, when the woman inexplicably disappeared from view. Again, though, no descriptors.
Where did they get these statements then?
I imagine they just ask them and then don't do, okay, can you give us the description now? They just kind of probably like let the story be. Others were written down.
It's also been long enough that many of these seem like they were stories of a story of a story. Where also like I wasn't there, so I didn't ask what it looked like, but here's the story. Like that kind of thing. I don't know.
I bet you that freaking Derek Acora became this nun in Most Haunted.
Well, as you were asking, Alex, like, why has nobody done anything about it? All these hauntings are happening and nothing's happened, and they've just kind of dealt with it. Well, in 1928, the new Reverend Guy Smith, and his wife Mabel moved into Borley Rectory, and the couple had no children. When cleaning out the house, Mabel discovered a brown paper parcel, and upon unwrapping it, found herself looking at a small human skull.
How small?
Like that of a child.
Yeah.
Oh no.
This was, yeah, I know. This small skull was presently buried in the churchyard by her husband. Alone in the house shortly after, Guy was crossing the landing outside the notoriously haunted Blue Room when he heard whispering, rising to form the audible pleading words, "Don't, Carlos, don't."
That's from Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride. Don't tell him, Carlos. Don't need chicken.
Oh, God.
Nah.
Footsteps were then heard in the rectory so often that one day Guy Smith leapt out from behind a wall with a hockey stick to strike the intruder, only to find himself slicing thin air. Bells again rang on their own, and the servant, Mary Peterson, twice saw the phantom coach speeding by. So it was then, in June of 1929, less than a year into their residence, the Smiths themselves contacted the Daily Mirror. Smith would be present on the night when Price and Walm were mysteriously showered with pebbles and slate that we talked about earlier. And that same summer, the Smiths moved out into lodgings, and in October 1930, Borley gained a new vicar. They actually did end up hiring somebody to come dig up the grounds at the Borley Rectory as well. But that wouldn't be till about 2 decades later. The new vicar didn't actually really find much. Tellingly, the Reverend Lionel Foister took on the haunted parish only at the intervention of surviving members of the Bull family to whom he was actually related. He had a wife, Marianne, many years of his younger, and an adopted daughter 3 years old by the name of Adelaide, which is a name I friggin' love. Like Ethel Bull before her, Marianne seems to have acted as a focus for whatever was haunting Borley. For the activity now hit levels of violence and persecution not seen before. Numerous household items vanished, whilst objects which they did not own appeared from nowhere. And one day, Marianne took off her watch to wash her hands. Turning back to retrieve it, she found that the strap had disappeared, though the watch itself remained. Objects were frequently thrown at or past the couple, and Marianne was once struck so badly by an invisible force as to be left with a cut and a black eye. She was thrown out of bed several times, and mysterious writings apparently connected with her now began to appear on the walls of the house.
It's like PT.
It really is.
Yep.
On several occasions, Marianne saw the ghost of Henry Bull I, who had allegedly warned his family that, if discontented in the afterlife, he would return as a poltergeist. Although Marianne was certainly not the most reliable witness in the Borley's history, it is telling that the dressing gown she saw Bull wearing was recognized by older Borley locals who had heard her description. As said, though, there were other witnesses that were not family. A full account of the Foister sufferings would run to a short book, with Lionel having kept a detailed diary of the events from the beginning of their stay. With even Adelaide apparently struck and persecuted, these events would have given many people a nervous breakdown. And with Price now on the scene, there was no shortage of outside witnesses. Along with the workmen who saw stones tumbling down the stairs, there's a Lady Whitehouse, a friend of the Foisters, and her nephew Richard. On December 14th, 1931, Lionel, Marianne, and Richard all saw a thin glass tumbler drop from thin air to land at Richard's feet. He would later stress that no one could have thrown this without breaking it. Lady Whitehouse was present when a fire started spontaneously, and she also saw flints falling from nowhere.
Flints?
In January 19... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Like kindling? Like kindling and flint?
Like that, like like when you enter like a really cool cinematic scene and there's like, the little, yeah.
Like, are we talking like, are these ghosts just like kind of being menacing? Like they're like,
well, they know how to put on a good light
burn
show.
You, dog. You know what this is for?
It's all warning sparks.
It's not like embers, but it's like,
flint is like what you use to make sparks. Like, you hit it against itself. Yeah.
It adds a bit of panache to the fire show.
It's like a sealed box of matches. It's like showing up out of nowhere.
In January 1932, another visitor by the name of Mr. G. Lestrange had I know.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I didn't know if anybody was going to pull it out.
Doctor Strange?
I tried to move on yet. Mr. G. Lestrange had only just parked his car when he saw a figure standing by the porch. And seconds later, just as he caught his eyes on it, it vanished. And later in his stay, Lestrange heard footsteps pass by the sofa on which the one that he was sitting on, and then fade through the wall behind him. Impressively, the Foisters lasted until October 1935, leaving then only because of Lionel's increasingly severe arthritis. Listen, ghosts weren't the problem. arthritis was
It
the
always
real
will
killer.
be. It always is. Yeah.
But by this stage, the church had had enough of Borley Rectory. 2 parishes were merged and the building was put up for sale. Before a buyer could be found, though, Price was able to rent the house, and in the Times on the 25th of May, 1937, an unusual advertisement began. Quote, "Haunted house. Responsible persons of leisure and intelligence, intrepid, critical, and unbiased are invited to join a rota of observers in a year's day and night investigation of alleged haunted house." After weeding out thrill seekers, cranks, and opportunists, Price managed to enroll many what he deemed reliable observers, including engineers, doctors, undergraduates, and military men.
How many people are we talking about?
You're looking at least like somewhere around like 10 or so.
At least a
God
Witcher's
damn.
book worth of characters.
Yeah, a Witcher's worth of characters.
A Witcher's
exactly. A Witcher's worth.
Joseph Witchersworth.
Make some
Wrappings,
mean
crashes.
butterscotch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Yum.
A Witcher's worth original.
Get the fuck
Amazing.
out of here.
Rappings, crashes, bell ringing, and movement of objects were recorded with the report of Mark Kerr Pierce, a Geneva diplomat, running to almost 10,000 words. And when we say recorded, we mean typed out, like, in words. It was thanks to Price's energy and enterprise that Borley became not just one of the most haunted houses ever, but perhaps one of the best documented of the time. But Borley Rectory would not stand forever. In autumn 1938, Borley was purchased by Captain W.H. Gregson, and on midnight on February 27th, 1939, Borley Rectory caught fire.
Just like they always do, right?
Yeah. And while we can't be certain ghosts may have caused it, it's very unlikely that they did. See, he bought it at about 500 pounds, and Gregson had insured it for 10,000 pounds. And years later, his son, Anthony, stated that the captain had started the fire himself.
Hell yeah, he did.
Yeah, I mean, you buy that thing for 500, you have that thing insured for 10 grand? Yeah, of course he did.
So now it's like some kind of like burnt out freaking like
Yeah, it's a
old,
burnt out husk at this point,
Yeah.
1938. Yeah.
fully scary location at this point.
But even though the rectory was just a shell of its former self, a haunting continued. A chauffeur heard the invisible phantom coach hurtling by him, and Charles Brown and his friends one night saw a girl in white looking through the burned out window of the blue room upstairs. She was standing in empty air. Army officers who tried to use the site during the war had stones thrown at them and found the general atmosphere so negative that they didn't stay. From 1947 to 1950, James and Alice Turner occupied the surviving cottage. On hot summer days, they would hear the voices and laughter of children from the orchard, and on one occasion, the sound of heavy footsteps as though someone was walking on bare boards. During a 1961 investigation, battery torches and car headlamps all failed without obvious cause, and as recently as 2000, Colin Wilson spoke to a television crew which had recorded hollow footsteps, the creaking of a door that no longer exists, and a deep sigh that impressed everyone who heard it as profoundly unhappy. That is the overall story of Borley Rectory. However, there's still a little bit that needs to be talked about. First, was Borley Rectory actually haunted? The answer, in my mind, is no. And one of the most telling pieces of evidence that we would have is that one of the maidens, the servants that lived there and lived with the families and apparently had many sightings of carriages and full-on figures, many years later went out in an interview to say that all of that was made up. She saw nothing and merely went along with it for the fun of the story.
Were they
burning, of
benefiting
course.
from it? Like, were they getting money?
Did she benefit from it? I don't think that particular person, I don't think so.
Isn't it? That's one of the biggest things about hauntings and paranormal stuff and aliens is people want to like be in it in the moment. There's just like a human nature about it. That's why I don't trust nobody.
I want to physically be in it. I want to like be at the Borley Rectory. And you know what's crazy? I have heard of the Borley Rectory for sure. I have no idea where because neither Ghost Adventures nor Most Haunted have done a show there. So I don't know why I know about it. Maybe I've always known about it.
Maybe you always have. Moreover, though, not if the servant wasn't enough, Marianne Foister herself later in her life admitted that she had also seen no apparitions and that the alleged ghostly noises were caused by the wind. Friends she invited to the house, and in other cases by herself, playing practical jokes on her husband. So even then, they were admitting that they were the ones doing a lot of the stuff.
Damn.
Many of the legends about the rectory had been completely invented for the fun of it, and the children of Reverend Harry Bull, who lived in the house before Lionel Foister, claimed to have seen nothing and were surprised that they had been living in what was described as England's most haunted house. Robert Hastings was one of the few SPR researchers to defend Price, who actually said the place was haunted. And Price's literary executor, Paul Tabarini and Paul Underwood, have also defended Price against accusations of fraud. Just to put that out there.
I wish I had a literary executive to like defend my reputation.
Yep. So all in all, the Borley report, as it's known, is mostly described and proclaimed as a bunch of boo-howie, nothing, bullshit, lies, and the like. However, there's still others out there, the experiences outside the family that obviously can't fully be explained away. But if you ask me, again, in that time, I think it was just a fun thing to do. I don't know what you boys think. I know you. So what did you know, Jesse, of that story? Is that pretty much what you knew of it?
Yeah. I was, that's why I didn't want to spoil it, because as far as I'm aware, it's a giant hoax, but it's fascinating that people keep buying into it. Like every time someone else moves in, every time someone is drawn there, they're always like, I heard things. And it's like, well, did they, or did they buy the land so they could continue like, oh, I'm not haunted? Like, who knows?
Yep. There's other little things that happened that are kind of like, again, negligible. One of the big things, or the one that a lot of people point to rather, is that after all the fire in the 40s, they found 2 bones. They actually did find 2 bones that initially they were like children's bones. But the village and after testing, or the area, not the village, the area and after testing said they were pig bones. But those who are so fully believe that the place is completely haunted say that that's not true, that they're actually bones of a young woman. But other than that, that's the story of one of, if not the most haunted house or haunted areas in England that is to be considered recorded. That's it.
Here's the thing. Like, do I love an unexplainable, scary story? Of course I do. You know what I mean? Like, Nothing gets me more excited. But when you're faced with a story like this, which undeniably has cool elements, and like, if you look at a picture of this place, like, you want to imagine there's ghosts there.
I mean, you look at the pictures of it now, it looks cool as hell.
That's what I mean. Like, I want to go play metal and like record a self-made music video in there. You know what I mean? But like, when there's so much peer-reviewed evidence of it not being real, it's hard to sort of like continue on with the flight of fancy, right? Like, there's plenty of unexplained ghost sightings out there that don't have some sort of reasonable explanation that are worth obsessing over. And it's sad that this one doesn't, but like, it doesn't seem real to me.
What we need is someone to do what they did with Skinwalker Ranch. Someone just needs to buy the land and just set up insane amounts of surveillance and just record.
And look at all the great results they got from Skinwalker Ranch.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I am convinced now more than ever that place is a flap.
You know what? We should talk about the Oak Island show. That would be a great thing to get into too. Just endless examinations. A money pit.
The money pit. All right. Well, that's it for us today on the Chilluminati podcast. Thank you for coming with us on this long journey and up to 91 episodes. That's crazy. We're almost at 100. Soon we will be doing the Betty and Barney Hill case. So look forward to that.
The classic case.
Yeah, we got Deanna's working on it right now alongside me. We're reading a couple of books for it. Probably going to be a couple of multi-parter.
That's
I'm excited for it.
One, right?
Yeah. Like that's like, if you want more aliens, this is like what I would consider part of the Aliens 101 like episodes that we do. This is necessary to dive into. So we're going to dive super heavy into that, probably starting in a couple of weeks. So be excited. Other than that, go to theyeti.com/collection/Chilluminati.
It's a wonderful website.
We're just about to launch some new stuff. So scoop up all the old stuff while it's still there, because once it's gone, it's gone. That's it for us. We'll see you next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Anyway, me and my wife were sitting outside indulging on our porch one night, enjoying ourselves. I needed to go to the bathroom, so I stepped back inside, and after a few moments, I hear my wife go, "Holy shit, get out here." So I quickly dash back outside, and she's looking up at the sky in awe. I look up too, and there's a perfect line of dozen lights traveling across the sky. Every day, our chance of being abducted gets higher, so there's no better time to make sure that your nuts are as smooth as possible, baby. Thank you so much to Manscaped for sponsoring this episode. Manscaped is here to give you a New Year's resolution that you'll actually want to keep. The Perfect Package 3.0 is the below-the-waist grooming package you need to start off strong this year. Inside the Perfect Package, you'll find their Lawnmower 3.0. It's waterproof and skin-safe trimmer that'll reduce nicks to your two best buddies down there. It's also time to freshen up down there because when the aliens arrive, you want to impress. And the Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You heard me right. You already put deodorant on your armpits, so why are you not putting any deodorant on the smelliest part of your bodies? Guys, take care of your stuff. When they come looking to collect the seed, you better be ready to say, pick me. Let's just bring back sexy in 2021, gentlemen. And you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code CHILL at manscaped.com. That's right, 20% off and free shipping with code CHILL at manscaped.com. So swing on over. Supporting them supports us, and you can support the New World Order.